I previously asked all of you what you would like to see on this channel, and one of the replies was, since people do and seem to enjoy the deep characterization and discussions regarding certain units, characters, and stories in games, why I prefer Izuna in Blue Archive. And I'll talk about that because as of right now I'm still trying to learn what I want to do with this channel, and it's probably going to be a mix of these story and lore related videos alongside general gameplay for stuff like Genshin, because I'm not gonna lie, that's also, I think, more popular than Blue Archive. But in general, I think Blue Archive's characters, you really can't go wrong with any one of them. I've had some, I think previously I preferred Hibiki over Izuna, and then once Izuna kind of came, I maxed out relationship rank with her, I kind of settled on her being my favorite. Now, right off the rip, I like foxes, and Izuna being a fox, or at least having fox-based traits, did really appeal to me. So that did have its own biases that really affected the way I viewed the character, I'm not gonna lie about that. Second though, it's over time, even before I started to care about the relationship storylines outside of the, currency you get from them, it was the animations. I enjoy the color scheme, I enjoy the animations. The only thing I dislike about Izuna is the fact that she's a frontline unit, essentially meaning that even though I have Tsubaki as my tank, Izuna is going to be out there in front with her, and that does mean she takes quite a lot of hits. However, she does evade quite a bit of them, so it's a fair trade-off in my opinion. Her being a mystic unit meant that I pretty much always had a reason to bring her along, even for certain boss scenarios, because I didn't much care for Haruna. Now, don't get me wrong, I have other mystic units that I can use, and don't get me wrong, they're pretty good, but having one who I prefer and who I like the animations of and the style of is really nice, because it does give me a reason to bring along a character that I like to pretty much every scenario. Now, going more in depth into the characterization of Izuna, you have different stages and different things that sort of build this one particular unit. If you're looking at the Ninjutsu Research Club, which is essentially the club she's a part of, even though she is very into the concept of ninjas, is very into ninja-based media and TV shows and movies, it's a much more integral part of her personality, to the extent to where she's viewed as a bit of a loner as a result. Thus far, we haven't really seen her interact with too many other individuals, and outside of this, if we're focusing simply on her relationship storyline, a lot of the things she does in the beginning do transfer meaning. In the beginning, she's attempting to be your bodyguard, and that's all fine and well. It's based a lot on the media she's watched, and because of that, she's attempting to assume this role. But over time, that role of bodyguard does seem to change. She likes sharing her interests with you, and really the concept of just being your perfect bodyguard has kind of faded away to simply just enjoying being around you. I mean, you have that transition to where she essentially forces you to sit there with her and watch movies all night, and it's small things like that. Small things where, okay, if you're looking at the final scene, which is the live 2D scene in which you're in a boat, and it's supposed to be, theoretically at least, a form of training, but in this instance she simply just has fun being with you, and she has fun looking at the fish, and it's a much more wholesome scene. I mean, nothing really about Izuna's characterization really leads to any sort of lewd or inappropriate behavior or anything that alludes to that. It's a very wholesome interaction overall, and it's because of this that I think when you're interacting with a character in Blue Archive, no matter who they are, you don't necessarily just see a very consistent theme played across one character or multiple characters. It's not every character isn't simply a copy paste of one another with the exact same traits. You do see a lot more of a different side of that unit than you otherwise would see through the combat you experience with them. You even have the birthday lines or the event lines like Christmas and Valentine's Day. You have the lines to give on the home screen if you don't have a live 2D set, for example. And each of these, in my opinion, do assist in conveying that personality. Don't necessarily lose the ideal. Izuna, as a person, as a character, never lost the ninja theme she had. It just transitioned into affecting other aspects of the relationship she had with you, the playable character, Sensei. But that interest in ninjas is conveyed thoroughly, not just through her design and the aspects of the clothing she wears, but also through her talents. It's through the names of her skills. It's through her weapon. Overall, everything about Izuna is centered around this one idea of being the perfect ninja, and a lot of the things that she does, at least throughout her relationship questline, is centered around that same aspect. So that consistent theme does carry, but it's not the entirety of a personality. You can't summarize the entirety of any character's personality in Blue Archive, at least in my opinion, with one word or one trait. Sure, Ninja is a big part of Azuna's personality, but you also have these small other things that slowly branch out and show themselves over time. Now, I understand people who play Blue Archive really may not care about characterization. I understand the people who look at Blue Archive from an outside perspective may only see the art and assume, like, it's a very lewd game. I would encourage anyone to just pick up and try the game. Blue Archive, in my opinion, gets a pretty bad reputation. And I'm not saying some parts of it are undeserved. I'm not saying that some parts or some of the assumptions people make about Blue Archive and its community are incorrect. But what I am saying is that bad reputation has sort of overshadowed the good game beneath that, in my opinion. But then again, most gacha games have an iffy reputation. Genshin has an awful reputation, honestly, because people seem to assume it just attracts the weirdest kinds of people, when realistically, Genshin is just a popular game, and the normal people, or the good people, aren't really going to make as much noise or as big of an impact in the community as the bad individuals. But there are tons of great characters, tons of great quest lines and relationship ranks and relationship stories. I think that if I had to pick a few that really stood out to me, you had Hibiki's, because it was fun. You had Izuna's, and once again, I like that. You had Serena, which honestly I wasn't expecting to be as good as it was. You have units who can pop up and come out of nowhere and surprise you, who have beautiful live 2D screens, but also have really, really nice and really valuable and fun relationship storylines. I like Natsu. I got her accidentally. I played it and I loved it, and I like her live 2D screen. And a lot of the live 2D screens aren't in any way, shape, or form very lewd or inappropriate or not safe for work. They're just wholesome, or they represent a part of the character's personality. Natsu likes food, Natsu likes sweets, Natsu likes adventure, and her live 2D screen does really showcase that. So if we're talking about things strictly from a characterization perspective, in most scenarios, the live 2D screens, don't get me wrong, they have to have, most of them have some degree of appeal in a sexual manner. But outside of that, they also represent and don't seem to forget that this should showcase a part of the character's personality or an impactful scene for them. And they do, and I appreciate that, because even though Blue Archive could have just gone the route of making extremely hot characters with extremely lewd live 2D screens, it instead went with a mix of having really beautiful live 2D screens. Don't get me wrong, some have more effort than others, but also showcase a part of that character's personality. They could have gone the route of just not having the relationship stories at all, but instead they chose to, and you have school sub-stories in which characters from a particular club will interact with one another. You have overarching stories. You have enough story and characterization to the point where your favorite character is very likely to appear at some point, whether that be in their own relationship storyline, or in another person's storyline, or in the sub-stories for clubs, or in the main storyline, or even in an event. Izuna was first introduced in an event, and Serena is pretty much the healer that you've always had. So, in most scenarios, Blue Archive excels in characterization, and I appreciate that. So, if you play Blue Archive, or if you're just a fan of the channel, thank you for watching. Tell me your favorite character down below, and I'm probably going to do some more character and gameplay analysis. By the way, I hope to see you next time. Hope you enjoyed the video. Leave a like if you did, and goodbye.